Paul Harris met with these three friends, Hiram Shorey and Sylvester Sheely and Gus Lohr, to explain this idea he had of this new businessman's club. But did you ever wonder what happened the next day? After these guys began to think about this idea, this thing that Paul Harris had, well, fortunately, in the basement of the Rotary headquarters office, we found an old tape, a tape recording of a message that was recorded on February the 24th, 1907. And actually, it was a phone call from Hiram Shorey to Paul Harris the next morning. Now, Hiram Shorey was an interesting guy. He always kind of wore an old brown cap like that, and Hiram had this little pair of wire glasses that he wore, and it was something like this, and Hiram, he had a phone call, and Hiram, all of a sudden the phone rang, and we recorded the message like this. Paul, it's Hiram here. Yeah, how you doing this morning? Well, I've been thinking a little bit about that club you suggested last night. Where'd you get the idea, Paul? Oh, you're what? You're a lonely guy, huh? Don't have too many friends there in Chicago? Yeah. Well, most lawyers don't have many friends. Have you thought about getting a dog? A dog's man's best friend. Paul, I'm calling because I've been wondering a little bit about some of those things you talked about last night, that club idea. Paul, why do you call some of the things called meetings and some are conventions and some are conferences? Oh, you'll explain that when? At the assembly. Maybe a workshop. Well, frankly, Paul, I can't quite see the difference. Don't you think that club's having an awful lot too many meetings? What's that? The more we get together, the happier. Paul, are you singing? So you want them to meet every week? What's that? Unless they make up. What's a make-up, Paul? Oh, just another meeting. And what? You're going to keep attendance records every week? Oh, and you'll give them a ribbon at the end of the year. A ribbon? Boy, that sounds like incentive, Paul. What's that you think people do about anything to get a ribbon? Well, sure, we get ribbons at the county fair, but that's usually for the biggest hog. You said you're going to have a speaker every week. Aren't we going to run out of speakers? And what? You mean you're never going to pay for a speaker? Paul, what kind of speakers you're going to get for free? Oh, they don't have to be good, just free. You had another idea? What's that? You want to call my wife what? You want to call her Ann? Paul, where'd you get that idea? Her name's Hortense. You think all ladies like to be called Ann? Paul, you don't know my wife. And another thing, what's that Rotary Foundation thing you kept talking about? Oh, just a fundraising scheme, huh? All you want's the money, that's all. You think guys will give money just to be called a fellow? Paul, boy, you've got a lot of, you're really full of ideas, Paul. just spend it on good things. That's what my wife says, Paul. Paul, you mentioned that something about youth exchange. Are we supposed to exchange our kids? I don't think my wife's going to give our kids away. What's that? Oh, it's just a vacation exchange. Well, what do we exchange them for? You mean we got to take somebody else's kids? Well, that's a real bummer. We got a couple kids we'd exchange for anything. Would you tell me again? You just want one from each business, huh? You know, Paul, Noah had two. But you only want one. This thing is getting awful confusing to me, Paul. Paul, you mentioned another thing. Why do you want to serve chicken at every meal? What's that? Oh, that's it. Your brother-in-law owns a chicken farm. He said something about somebody was going to be called a district governor. And they'd be trained at an assembly? What's an assembly, Paul? Oh, it's a 7-day meeting, huh? You think it takes 7 days to train a district governor, huh? God did the whole world in 7 days. And Paul, you said that a committee would pick this governor guy, huh? Well, yeah, and then they'd send him to training program. But what if they picked a trained jerk, huh? You just end up with a trained jerk. Paul, did you really mean that you were going to let people in this club who can't speak English? How are you going to know what they're saying? You what? You just speak louder, huh? They don't understand.